Hey everybody, good morning. Just some little pointers as to my thought process. I know not everyone's able to be with us in class, so I thought I would go through my thinking on the various different assignments that we are looking to do over the next little while. So, uh, really quickly, we'll jump into online here. So, first things first, obviously, your photography portfolio needs to be contemplated. You need to be thinking about getting that finished and submitted so that I can get it printed for you and bring it back to you. Also, so that I can make some comments on it and go from there. We won't actually print it until the video projects are finished and everything is submitted, but I would like that structure and that skeleton of it to be completely finished as much as you have finished ahead of time. Then we also have our printing section. This is the main section that we're working on. So we yesterday discussed the difference between vector and bitmap. We've talked about our new assignment is not the Twitter logo anymore. It is now the TikTok logo, but the basically using the pen tool and tracing. And we went into some, you're going to do your own logo trace, and then talking about sticker design. I just want to give you my thoughts on it and what procedurals would be the best, and sort of just so you have an idea of where my head is at. I know you can't ask me questions very quickly, so hopefully this little discussion gives you what you need in terms of the stickers. The whole plan with regards to this project, right, is to create your own sticker thing. When I Google, so if I just Google like cool sticker design, I did this yesterday, okay, you end up with like 1,000,001 different stickers. Are they all appropriate? Probably not. Most of them are not, in fact. But if you were going to create something similar to this, right, you can see where the machine has cut around the outside. So it's created this cut line. They did that all in the computer, right? They probably either traced this GIF kind of image. They may have drawn it from scratch. They clearly just took like the brush tool and made a bunch of like dots and things. So the design is simple, right? Am I expecting you to come up with some crazy thing here? No. Okay? But all of these have like a cut line around them. So your sticker can include words. It can include different kinds of color variants and stuff, right? Even in Illustrator, even though it's not a graphic design program per se, it does allow you to do different kinds of gradient, different kinds of textures, if you will, or at least implied textures. Here's another semi-good example. Maybe not. I think that's a better example. Okay, so this is just like really simple. Somebody tried to like kind of mimic the Toy Story kind of deal, right? So they found a font that was similar. They kind of traced it out. Whatever. You can tell it's been sort of hand done, and it's yes, it copies the like theme or the feel or the idea between the Toy Story. If we open up a new tab and we said Toy Story logo, right? You get the same concept and feel. Obviously, these guys are professional people and have nice straight lines, straight paths all the way around. This person, it looks like they drew it with the pen tool. Okay? If you are going to do work in Illustrator, just because I've taught you about the pen tool doesn't mean that, oh cool, they updated our thing. So we have the new illustrators and stuff, which is awesome. We will see how much that changes the look of everything here. I know that this is gonna die. I know that the new Illustrator and stuff is very powerful. So if we created a new document that was 3 inches by 3 inches, that's where we start with, right? Just because I know how to use the pen tool, so maybe I do want to type the word toy or whatever, right? In some kind of creative way. Just because I know how to use this doesn't mean I necessarily should, right? This is a T, yes, but so is if I take the type tool and I make a capital T, and I take this and I scale this all the way up, big, right? Is it the same? Nah, not really. But now look, I have like 100 or whatever million different kinds of font to choose from. So maybe I find a font that looks like the where I'm headed with. Let's try here. Try this. Kind of a crazy font. A cool technique if you're like, okay, this is close, but I want to like adjust these points inside here. So I can go to object and I can say expand, and I can say object and fill, and I say, okay, well now this item, if you will, becomes editable. So as soon as I click on the direct selection tool, I can now click on this path. I can now edit this path. I can now morph this in a certain way to change the look and feel completely of what this was. Now maybe this is not a prime example of how you would move this, right? You can also apply curves, just like we learned the other day. You can hit the Alt key, take the pen tool, hold Alt. I can now add bends and warps to all these paths. So I have like extreme flexibility in Illustrator. I can go back to this original path that I was working on, before, and I can do the same thing. I can stretch this one now. I can morph this one. I can do whatever I want to create a custom look to my design, right? And depending on what tools I use, whether I'm using the pen tool, whether I'm using the direct selection tool, allows me lots of control in terms of the way that I am moving and morphing things. And if I find something that I really, really like the look of, I can very easily make copies of it and duplicate it, and I can rotate it around. I can use the selection tool. I can rotate this. I can do all kinds of different stuff in Illustrator. It's a very, very practical, very, very proficient program for making logos, for making stickers, for making all kinds of different designs. Once I have my design decided, whatever it might be, I need to then either take one of the predefined shapes and use that. Okay, I want to have this is my cut line, so I don't need a fill. I need a pink stroke. This becomes the sticker that I submit, right? For the sticker project, and I will put this in the Google Classroom, when you do a file save as, you're obviously going to save it to your computer, as this is like my sticker design. And please put your name on it, because when like 32 of you send me your designs, I need to know whose is whose, right? But the Illustrator design is not what I want. I need you to do a file save as, specifically as an EPS file. Okay, and an Illustrator EPS file is what I can take and put directly into the software program that we have downstairs to be able to cut them off. Okay, so you'd save it as an EPS. Really nothing changes. It's ready to go. Okay, for your second project, or second thing that you're going to be working, or fourth thing, I guess it is technically, now that I think about it, the photo print here. This can be done in one of two ways. You can create a 12 by 24 inch design in Illustrator, or you can create a 12 by 24 inch design in Photoshop. Okay, it is your choice. Lots of kids will use their panorama photos, but if you want to create a thing in Illustrator with a whole bunch of cool patterns and whatever else, think of this as something you're going to mount on your wall, and you can mount it as one 24 inch long by 12 inch tall piece, or you can, in your head, you can cut it in half. You can have like 2 12 by 12 squares, or you could have like 4 6-inch by 12-inch squares. However you want it designed is how you design it, but the whole design needs to be one document, like set up. So you can have different spacing and stuff. So for example, I'm going to do it in Photoshop. So if I did it in Photoshop here, if I brought open a file, it's loading on my other screen here for me. So if I was going to create this document, there we go. So I'm going to create a new document, and the width is going to be 24 inches and the height 12. It could very well be the other way around. You could have it be 12 wide and 24 tall. If you had a really narrow, skinny place on your wall that you knew you were going to hang something, or that you could hang something, this would be a great way to fill that. But I'm going to do 12 by 24. I'm going to hit create. And if I wanted to, I could just simply place in one of my predefined sort of panoramas or something that I already have. Right? Maybe there's a nice picture that you already have access to, right? So I know that this will fit in here. It's not going to distort quality-wise. I can make this a little bit bigger, right? Obviously, it's going to cut off a chunk of it, right? This design would then be saved as a JPEG or saved as a PDF. So file save as, either as a JPEG format or as a Photoshop PDF. And that allows me to send it. Again, I would not want this as untitled. I would want this as photo print right? If I wanted this to be broken up into sections, maybe there was a reason I was going to hang it on my wall in little slices, right? You would need to take, or you should take, one of the shape tools in Photoshop or in Illustrator. It's obviously easier in Illustrator, but if I took a shape here, you can do it no differently in Photoshop. I would want this to be blank, and I would want the stroke to be black, and I only want just a very, very thin, very thin little line. Okay, and then I am simply going to take this rectangle and copy it, move it. Oops. Don't move your picture. Lock that layer. Move your rectangle over. Come on now. Hang on. It's so small I can't even get to it. There it is. Right? You might copy that over. Copy it again. It loves to do weird things. The new version of Photoshop. The new version of Photoshop has some quirkiness that I still have not spent enough time to figure out why it does certain things with regards to selecting stuff. But if you're having trouble with something, obviously you can just lock a layer, and it makes it substantially easier for you to be able to then move whatever you need to move around in the design. Helps if it's the color black. Where is it? Anyways, probably would be easier to do this if this was thicker to start with. And you could then do your copies so everything was even, right? These aren't even all the full, they don't even cover the full width of the panes of picture. But you could potentially stretch them all out again. So if I select all 4 of these layers at the same time, I can scale them to fit where I need them to go, right? And then what you could do is, this could be your design that you send in, and then once we print it off and stick it onto a foam core board, you'd take a cutter and you would slice down between them, that allowing you to have on your wall kind of a decorative multi-panel picture. Again, it's your call. You are the ones designing this stuff, so I want you to take some time and think about it. Think about what you want that you're going to be proud of, that you can take home, show to your friends, family, put on the wall, all that kind of stuff. As mentioned before, we're not doing a traditional silkscreen situation, but that doesn't mean that you can't. Why does it go to that picture? Anyways, I guess this is as good as an example as anything. It doesn't mean that you can't have a really nice logo or graphic on your pictures. You just have to make sure that you design something accordingly. Keep in mind that when it comes to, I think I can look this up. When it comes to digital, when it comes to designs for t-shirts and stuff, right? We can only print something on kind of the front section, this middle chest part. Our heater that we need in order to cook the design onto the shirt doesn't allow for like crazy designs that are all over the place, right? This is a different technology called like sublimation, and they actually print the design on before the shirt is ever made, so that you can have it set up. But what we can do is things like this, where you have the ability to have even multiple colors within the same design. There's 2 different materials, well 3 I guess technically, but there's multiple different materials that we use or that we can use with our t-shirt designs. The one is like a solid color letter by letter. So you would create all of the white and all of the green separately, and you'd actually have to heat press it twice. See if I go vinyl, if it gives me better examples. Yeah, this is a little bit better. Right, so you can have a solid color style, or you could have something crazy like this. Even if you made that design, the machine, we would put in red material and it would cut out everywhere where it was cut, or everywhere where the design was told to cut it out, right? If you had a design more something like this, it would print the heart design with all the shading and stuff, and then it would just cut around the heart shape, right? So there's just a couple different sort of things to think about when you're making your design in terms of how you would want how you would want it to lay out, or how you'd want it to look in terms of what you're doing, right? You could even have something like this, right? And this again would be white lettering that gets cut out. There's no printing involved. And then we would take another color of material and cut out these other pieces, and you would basically paste it all together. And sometimes people call it iron-on. We have a specific like heat press that presses it down onto the machine or onto the t-shirt. We won't do it this week, but in a couple weeks, once everything's printed, you'd be able to bring in your t-shirt and get it heated on. I'm going to bring the press up here and put it on the table for us to have up here for a couple weeks. So that's kind of the idea or the concept or my thinking behind the various different projects. Obviously, the last section, or the like sort of the untalked about section of the printing section, is submitting that that final portfolio that we're working on, right? Your portfolio needs to be submitted for printing so that we can actually get that printed for you as well as a take-home item. Yes, Seth?
Is there a maximum amount of colors allowed
There's no, I won't say there's a maximum amount of colors, but I will say that like it gets excessively harder, like way harder, the more colors you have. You'd be better off, because of the way the technology works, you could have like the most intricate set of shapes and stuff, assuming that they're not super tiny lines, because the cutter still doesn't need to actually cut them out, right? You could have a very detailed design, but then when you pick out all the stuff you don't need, you're left with a really nice design still stuck to a piece of plastic, and you can pick the whole thing up and move it and stick it on. Getting the alignment, as soon as you start adding multiple colors and stacking those on top of each other, it gets a little bit crazy, right? So if you wanted a multicolor, super bright, vibrant design, you would probably lean yourself more towards the side where you create a design and then you just cut around it, kind of thing, right? You're gonna have, it's more of like a picture basically, and you're cutting around the picture. And that allows you to have every color, because we just would print it. It prints onto as a special material that the printer can print onto, and then it cuts around the design that it's printed, and then I give you that, and we would heat transfer, like we have this special paper that you pick up the design with, you put it on the shirt, and you heat press it on that way. So there's pros and cons to both, right? The specific shapes and letter kind of thing, like the truly kind of more intricate designs, those ones, the material is a little thicker, so I feel like it stands up better. Like once you wash it and things, it lasts a little bit longer. But it doesn't. If you're going to have multiple colors that overlap each other, you want to make sure that you're not actually, because the more you stack it up, like literally, the thicker it will get, right? Because now you have multiple layers of vinyl sitting one on top of the other. I used to have a Ghostbusters shirt. It doesn't fit me anymore, but it still is in great shape. It's probably like 13 years old, and it's never really faded. Like the vinyl is pretty amazing stuff. So it lasts quite a long time. The printed vinyl does last pretty good, but you have the downfall of like it's a white, it starts with a white background, right? And so if you wanted to have like a cool white kind of design on a black t-shirt, you're better off to make it just as a white design. We cut that out, stick it onto a black shirt. Whereas if you want a multicolored design and you put on a black t-shirt, well, it's going to be essentially a big white box, right? Because that's where the design will print inside of. Now you can contour cut that to make it a heart or a star or a diamond or whatever shape matches best with the image that you've created, but you still have to understand that the background, unless you cover up and print full color to change the color, it's still going to be a white background, right? And even if you printed black to try to match the black coming out of the printer is not the same texture and tone as the black from a shirt, kind of thing, right? So there are pros and cons to both styles of digital t-shirt making, but the biggest thing you got to do is get your design in order, and that's the goal for this week, is to make sure that we have the true goal, if you will, for this week is to have the true goal for the week is to make sure, oh, that was a silly fade. the true goal for the week is to go back to, is to have all the designs done so that I can take them next week and get them printed. And also so that we can have some dialogue back and forth. While you guys are working on your videos, if I see someone's design that has an issue to it, or I don't like it, or there's some problems with it, you then have time to go back and forth to be able to change that design, get it printed, and still have time before the end of the semester. So I realized when I looked at the calendar, had we done video now and printing later, we wouldn't have had that opportunity to go back and forth from a dialogue standpoint and get everything organized before the end of the semester. Anyways, is there any questions and stuff with regards to sort of the philosophy of the stickers and the t-shirts and the designing and all that kind of stuff? No? Okay, so then today it is 10 o'clock on Wednesday. What's the date here? Today is the 14th, right? So by the 16th, by Friday, you should have your 2 traces done. You should have your sticker design completed. You should have your photo print laid out and sent off for printing. And you should probably have your t-shirt design done, or at least be started thinking about it. We have approximately like 5 hours worth of time to work on stuff, so a full day worth of time. And it seems like a lot of stuff, but I don't think it's unreasonable to expect that you have plenty of time to work. So have fun, get your stuff done, and yeah, that's what the week's gonna look like. So for those of you watching online, this is super cheesy, but I hope you guys can follow along with us. This gives you an idea of my thoughts on the next few designs. I'm gonna put them up on Google Classroom right away for you to look at. In the meantime, work on your tracing designs and have some fun. Talk to you later.